Welcome to the My Creative Days podcast, where we will talk about all things DIY, home decor, decorating tips, and creating a beautiful home on a budget. I am hoping our time together will spark a creative idea, help you plan your next DIY, or inspire you to finally tackle that project you keep putting off. Grab your favorite cup of motivation and let's chat. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, I want to talk about something. I have talked about this before here on the podcast, but we're just going to do a little refresher. And fall is right around the corner, and it's one of my favorite times to be yard sailing. I don't know what it is. Well, number one, over the last couple of years, yard sales here where we live, there are a lot less yard sales. People don't really advertise for them, or where they're advertising for them has changed, and so they're harder to find. It's just different. It's so sad. But I'm hoping maybe this fall it'll be better. And because in the fall, I feel like the sales are better. Not better, I shouldn't say better, but I love going yard sailing in the fall. Number one, the weather, hands down, it's my favorite season. I love the weather, but I just, moms have the kids back at school, so I feel like they just, they feel like they have more time. And so, I don't know, there's just something about fall yard sales that I just love. So today I'm going to just go through a few tips for how to shop yard sales like a pro. I still get messages, when I share like a thrifting haul or a yard sale haul, people saying, I would never have thought of that, or, I never go to yard sales, or I never go into a thrift store, these can kind of be, if you live somewhere that yard sales aren't happening, these tips and stuff can be used in a thrift store, estate sale, those kinds of things. But I think I have like 15 little tips. I'm going to go through them pretty quickly, but so this is how you shop yard sales like a pro. This is how you're going to find the best stuff. Number one, plan ahead, right? So if your yard sale listings are still like in a place where you can easily find them, back in the day, we used to sit down and we have two different kind of newspapers, like the main Gazette, and then we have it's called the Penny Saver. It comes out every Wednesday, and it's just like this little newspaper. And so people would advertise in both. And I would sit down the night before and kind of go through. I would use different highlighters, so colors. So, a yellow, pink, and an orange, or whatever. So some of our yard sales here start Wednesday evenings. Some start Thursdays, some start Fridays, and some start Saturdays. So depending on what it is, I would use different highlighters to just go through and first highlight them all, for the different days that they were starting. And then I would, I'd go through and actually read some of the listings. So now, in the season that I'm in, and, I don't go to them all like I used to, but, so if something pops out at me now, I will make sure and head there if I can find the listings, because like I said, that's changed too. So it's just been, I have maybe been, I am recording this in August. I have maybe been to 6 yard sales this summer, which is crazy. I used to go all the time, and there were always tons of yard sales. It's just not the same. But anyway, so that is how I would, kind of plan it out. And then I would definitely make kind of like a map, or I would make it so it made sense and I wasn't having to backtrack and all those things. So I would plan out the ones I was going to go to, and stagger the times, if they started at different times, and then, make a map so it was, easy to go to and all of that. So definitely plan ahead. The next one is bring cash. Obviously it's a yard sale. Some of them do have Venmo now, but that's not guaranteed. So you need to always have cash. And don't just always bring 20s and 50s and 100s. That happens a lot when we have our yard sales, and it'll be like the first person that'll be like, do you have change for 100? And it's like, oh my gosh, there goes all our change. But so bring some smaller bills as well. This one, it's arrive early. So for those of you that aren't early risers, I know this one is hard, but the best items are going to go quickly. And now it's so funny because, back in the day, and I know people in different areas that are like still killing it at the yard sales, and there's still a lot of them. But back in the day, like you literally had to be there early. Like there would be cars lined up. And now, if a yard sale starts at 8 and I'm there at 8:10, I feel like I'm the first one there. Like it's just so different. I don't know what it is, but you definitely want to arrive early because that's when you're going to get the best items. But going into my next one, negotiate politely. When you go early, you're less likely to negotiate on prices. Like if they just open the doors and you're there, and you're getting the best items, they may not want to negotiate right away. Whereas if you're 2 hours in or, it's the end of the day, they're like, okay, please, I want to get rid of this stuff. Always negotiate. I mean, it's a yard sale. They want their stuff to go and they know that that's going to happen. But sometimes when you're like the early person, the first one in, you may not have as much negotiating room, if that makes sense. So bring tools if you need it. So I have always carried, not now because my purse is a lot smaller, but I used to carry like a pocket tape measure with me all the time. It's just like a tiny tape measure because we would be, if it's Home Depot or at a yard sale or something and need to measure whatever, furniture, something to hang on the wall, a piece of wood, whatever it is. It's kind of nice to have that. So you're not having to, especially at a yard sale, like having to walk away from an item to go ask them for a tape measure or whatever. And then, somebody picks it up right behind you. Like that is the worst thing. So just bring those things, that another thing that people may not think about, but it's not like you're going to carry a whole purse full of batteries. But, if there's something that's battery operated, that you have those that you can pop in and see. Same thing with this you wouldn't bring, but like if you're buying a light at a yard sale, ask to plug it in. So just to make sure that it works. So, but just those, a couple of simple tools just to have so that you're ready to go and nobody grabs your item. And then you're definitely have the right size or make sure that it is the right size. Make sure that you inspect items carefully. Obviously it's being sold as is. You cannot take it back. Just make sure, especially for this, it's, for me, I am always, I love like salvaged pieces and, vintage and antique items. And so sometimes those items, may have a piece missing or may have a corner missing or whatever it is. But for other things, for sure. And I love that about those items. Like that piece is missing. Oh, I like it even better. But for other things like, that for, where you may need parts or, it's, for it to function, it needs A, B, C, and D. So make sure A, B, C, and D are there. And always don't be afraid to ask, if it's something you're just like, does this work? Are all the pieces here? Definitely ask. And know what you're looking for. So this is, but take that loosely because you're at a yard sale and I always say, buy it. If it grabs your attention, it's a great price, buy it. Even if it's not something like you came looking for, but definitely kind of have an idea. And the more you go to yard sales, the more that this is just like so easy. I can see from my car as I'm parking to get out at a yard sale, which table I'm going to first, right? Like it's just the certain things that you're searching for always, you can kind of see from a distance, that's where you're going to start. So always know what you're looking for. So it kind of helps you navigate the yard sale. Stay open-minded, no matter where you are, yard sales, estate sales, thrift stores, restore. The best finds are unexpected. And some of the best finds are things that you can repurpose or change the color or whatever. And it can become, something amazing for your home. So stay open-minded when you are yard saling. And this goes into the next one, consider repurposing. So, if it's, the current use is not something you can use, but you absolutely love the old wood or whatever that it's made out of, then maybe you can repurpose it into something else that you can use in your home. Inspect books and media. So for me, like I love to buy old books and find old books. And so sometimes there's pages missing, but I just love the outer cover. I'm using them for decorations. So, that stuff doesn't bother me for those kinds of things. But obviously if it's a book you're going to read, a CD, a DVD, like we don't buy those anymore. A CD we don't really buy anymore. But, records, that is something that Matt and I love to pick up, old records. You just want to make sure that, number one, the item is in the case or the item is in the cover or whatever it is that you're buying. And number two, just make sure that, like with records, we kind of look for scratches and stuff to, make sure it's not full of scratches. The next one I love, bundle deals. So I will do this a lot. If I'm at a yard sale and my hands start getting full, I will take, the items over to the table or whatever and say, hey, can I start a pile? They love that, right? I love that when I'm having yard sales. Yes. The more you buy, the more, I'll bundle a deal for you, or, what I mean? Like, so, and don't be afraid to ask that. So, they may be adding up the pieces as you're bringing them there and bundling them. And they may say, okay, your total is $68. Well, would you take 60 for it all? I will ask that all the time. You're buying a ton of things. People love to bundle it and get it out. So definitely keep that option open. Stay organized. Depending on, I love to go to like townwide sales where you can hit a ton of sales at a time, or something like a church sale. My favorite. So if you can carry like a reusable shopping bag or like a small cart, if you're going house to house to house, it just helps your hands stay free. Because that's one thing I love when Matt is able to go with me, or even the kids, because as I'm grabbing things, I can have them hold things, and help me kind of keep my hands free. So as I'm going through things, I can kind of keep picking things up and looking things over. Check clothing and shoes. So like obviously you want to make sure, it does a zipper work? Are the buttons all there? Things that you may just look over. Stains, damage. You just want to look those things over if that's what you're looking for and picking up at yard sales. Trust your instincts. So this is my thing that I kind of talked about before. If something grabs your attention, pick it up, right? If you are a yard sailor, thrifter, this feeling. I've actually shared it a lot on my Instagram when it happens to me. It's the worst. Like when you see something and you don't pick it up and you start walking around or whatever, and then you're like, yep, I'm going to go get that. And then somebody else has it in their cart or somebody else has it in their hands. And you're like, why? Why do I second guess myself? The thing was $1. Like literally, like that will be me. And then I will talk to myself the entire rest of the time I'm there. It was $1. You couldn't pick it up for $1. You were thinking about it and it was only $1, or whatever it is. So trust your instincts. Pick it up. If you decide against it, you can set it back down, but pick it up. If it just walk around with it and then decide while you have it in your hands. Don't leave it behind because chances, you risk somebody else grabbing it. And then be courteous. Yard sales are often personal, it's a personal event for the seller. So be respectful, be polite. Some of my best stories for things that we have in our homes that we have picked up like at a barn sale or a yard sale or, an estate sale is the story that came with it. You go up to buy something and they'll say, that was my grandma's, she made that, or, that dresser was, at my grandpa's house forever. And then my mom had it, or it's just some of the best stories are from what they tell you about the items. So be courteous and listen to them. Matt and I talk about this all the time. We have had some of the best interactions just from the yard sales that we've been to or estate sales that we've been to. You meet some fun people and you also come away with some great stories. So definitely be open to those conversations. So, okay, that was it. I actually thought that would take longer than it did. So if you have yard sales going on in the fall, get out and shop them. I just love yard sailing in the fall. It's like just so good. So definitely stop at them if you see them and then use these tips so you come away with the best items and you have a lot of fun while you're doing it. So until next time, I hope you have a great day and I will talk to you soon. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm grateful that you tune in every week and that you share the show with your family and friends. I love having creative chit chats with you, and my hope is that this podcast will inspire you to try a new project, start a DIY that you've been putting off, and decorate your home exactly how you want it. There are a few ways you can help us with the podcast. Follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you could take a few minutes to leave the podcast a review, that would help us so much. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to our chat next week. Bye-bye.